There's a word most professional teams avoid from saying. The T word. Tank. In the NFL, this is a very good year to tank. And actually, one of the things I emphasize is sometimes the tank isn't saying, right, because you don't want to do it. Oh, it's against the game. It's not the spirit of the rule, the integrity of the sport. Here's the thing. Tanking oftentimes isn't about like ruining or scrapping a good team. It's about making sure you're bad the right year. Like, let's say you were going to be bad the year Kenny Pickett was the top quarterback drafted, and he was drafted like 17th, right? Well, the way you dig yourself out of a rock-bottom hole is by drafting a quarterback. So if you bottomed out that year, that's a problem, right? That's you bottomed out, and there's no way to get yourself out of the hole. So what if you recognized, hey, we're going to bottom out that year? What if we accelerated just a little bit and bottom out the Trevor Lawrence year? Right? You would have been there anyway. You would have been bad anyway. You would have had a year where you were one of the worst in the NFL anyway. The tank just made sure that the prize at the end was worth the struggle. This year is a year where the prize at the end is worth the struggle. And it's not just the Trevor Lawrence year. It's a twofer. It's Caleb Williams and Drake Maye. This is a great year to tank in the NFL because you have the best safety net you've had as a prospect in the last 10 years. Right? Because do you know what's even worse than bottoming out naturally in a year where there's no quarterback? Bottoming out intentionally and still missing out on the quarterback. Jets. Right? The Jets bottomed out in the Trevor Lawrence year, came up just a hair short and ended up with Zach Wilson. That's the worst. However, if there's two generational quarterbacks, if there's two quarterbacks that you would take number one overall, if there's two quarterbacks that are worth a number one overall pick, then you have the safety net. You aim for the number one, and even if you're not that bad, right, your team squeaks out a victory, you complete the 4th and 20 to win the one game that you couldn't win, you get another guy who's worth a number one overall pick. And make no mistake about it, Drake Maye is worth a number one overall pick. Here's Todd McShay on with the Ryan Russillo pod talking about Drake Maye and that number one pick.
Drake Maye, in many people's eyes that I've talked to in the league, that it's either very close. Some guys I've talked to have Drake Maye from North Carolina as the number one quarterback, built a little bit more traditionally, has, can endure, they think, contact and the physicality of the NFL game.
I want to be clear here. They said they have Drake Maye as the number one. This is not a lack of confidence in Caleb Williams. It is a choice in confidence for Drake Maye, right? Because some years there's no deserving number one overall pick, right? And then you, instead of wording it that way, with some people have Drake Maye as the number one, they just say like some are still questioning Caleb Williams as the number one. This is saying no, there's two guys that different people think are that darn good. The last time I could really remember that type of conversation, I'm not saying that there weren't, two quarterbacks drafted number one and number two. Winston Mariota comes into play. Goff and Wentz comes into play. But the last time I remember two guys at the top that different evaluators were, well, that guy's number one, but this guy would be number one in a lot of other drafts. Mm-hmm. It's probably Luck and RG3.
Yeah,
which is
about right.
Which is over 10 years now.
Yeah, because Luck was clear-cut number one.
Luck was number one, but there was a lot of, RG3 won the Heisman at through 4 games his senior year. He had more touchdown passes than incompletions or something like that.
Yeah, it was stupid.
And oh, by the way, he's one of the fastest hurdlers in the world. Like, everybody was really into those two prospects. It feels a bit like that, where most are saying Caleb Williams is the guy, but there are some going on. Drake Maye physically, right? Bigger, stronger, can take the hits, as you just heard from Todd McShay. So who should be interested in Drake Maye? Everyone that should be interested in Caleb Williams. Everyone that needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
You shoot for the Caleb Williams. Even if you miss, you land amongst the Drake Maye. It's a really nice safety net. Chicago, Denver, Arizona, New England, Minnesota if they move on from Kirk. Green Bay if Jordan Love doesn't work out. Atlanta, Vegas, Washington. Sorry, Sam Howell. Could be a little UNC quarterback on UNC quarterback war going on there. Rams, Tampa, all of them. If you think you're going to need a quarterback in the next year or two, make sure you bottom out this year. Make the choice because you have a safety net, and that safety net is Drake Maye. You get to draft Kevin Durant, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, oh, Greg Oden and Kevin Durant, number 1 and number 2. You want to be the one that has to pick? Or if you finish second, you get to be the one that goes, we would have taken the other, but we had to take him, right? It takes the pressure off. The best part of Drake Maye, and I say this maybe even more so than Caleb Williams, is Drake Maye is obvious. He's prototypical. He's what you expect. You don't have to be at every game. You don't have to send a scout or your GM to a whole bunch of Carolina games trying to project what he will do in the NFL. Will it translate? Right? There's occasionally – Caleb Williams is special as heck. If you listen to the show, you know I'm very impressed by Caleb Williams. Some of those plays where he scrambles around for 15 seconds and then throws across his body, I'm going like, it might translate to the NFL, but I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, pretty much Patrick Mahomes is the only one that tries to do that, and I'm not sure I'm just going to sign this guy up as being as good as Patrick Mahomes.
But even he had to learn how to do it in the NFL.
Exactly.
It took him a bit.
But then you watch Drake Maye, and it's like he takes a 5-step drop, he hitches twice, and he throws a rocket. It's like, I've seen a lot of quarterbacks that can do that, have a lot of success in the NFL.
True.
You are confident that you won't be upset if you have the 2nd or 3rd overall pick and Drake Maye is there. You will you won't even wait to see if trade calls come in. You will run to get your card in and make that pick. That's the best part of Drake Maye. Like if you're Caleb Williams or if you're an offensive coordinator and you draft Caleb Williams and you're like, all right, it's a copycat league. Whose film should I watch? I think you got to watch his film from USC to get ideas for what he does well.
Mm-hmm.
Drake Maye, watch Justin Herbert. Drake Maye, watch any big, tall, strong, laser rocket-armed quarterback out there, of which there have been a decent amount.
That's also really mobile.
That's ready for this? Deceptively fast.
Yes, there it is.
He comes from a championship pedigree. Have you heard his brothers were good athletes?
No.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard. There are certain facts that just get said a billion times during every broadcast. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Harvard and Drake Maye's brothers play basketball and baseball are two of the most overstated things in the world. Also, and we'll see it again this weekend if Riley Leonard plays for Duke. Do you know there's highlights of him windmill dunking?
Yeah.
They'll play it during the broadcast, I guarantee you. My point is, if you're an NFL team, Drake Maye, he just makes you feel really, really good about being bad this year. You're confident you won't leave empty-handed. If you're near the top, you don't even have to be at the top of the draft. And on top of that, he's a number 1 overall pick quality. So, Carolina fans, enjoy him while he's here. He will not be for long.